This girl loves nature, but the mother forces her to move into a polluted city. Luckily, one day, the girl meets a fairy who promises to help her in exchange for completing a dangerous task. Violetta is a young fairy who lives in the secret world of tooth fairies. Today is the annual tooth fairy exams, so everyone gathers to cheer up the participants. After completing the training period, all the students are going to attempt the practical exam. Anyone who passes the exam will officially become a tooth fairy. Violetta joins the exams too, and hopes that she will not fail like the last time. A fake kids' room is set up to test the students. All they have to do is sneak inside, take the tooth placed under the pillow, make a suitable gift, and disappear before the kid wakes up. All the students do the task one by one and easily pass the exams, but the best performance is given by Yolando. He has always been the brightest student and never made a single mistake. Their teacher, Professor Lauren, admires Yolanda and immediately grants him the magic gem that allows a fairy to enter and exit the human world. Everyone cheers for Yolanda except Violetta. She doesn't like him at all because Yolanda always stops Violetta from eating sweets. He doesn't understand how much she loves sweets. After eating a bunch of cookies, Violetta gets ready for her turn. She hides her dragonfly, Gwen, inside her cap and heads towards the stage. After passing through the window, Violetta pulls out the tooth, but she doesn't know how to make a gift. Therefore, she distracts the judges and puts Gwen in place of the gift. However, the professor doesn't like the gift and asks Violetta to create a suitable gift. She aims for a toy car, but unfortunately, she can't create anything else besides flowers. Everyone laughs at her, and Violetta fails the exams once again. Professor Lauren advises her to wait for the next time. She can't get the magic gem before she learns how to return back. The human world is really dangerous for an unprepared fairy, but Violetta has become really impatient and decides to prove herself worthy even if she has to break the rules. Meanwhile, in the human world, there's a girl named Maxie who lives in the countryside with her single mother, Hannah. A few months ago, Hannah met a single dad named Amir and decided to start a family with him and his 2 sons. Therefore, Hannah and Maxie are moving to the city. However, Maxie doesn't want it as she loves nature and her best friend is a tree. She can't take all of her plants with her, so Maxie chooses a violet flower. As soon as they enter the city, Maxie starts regretting her decision already. There are no trees in sight, and the roads are blocked with traffic. Seeing Maxie's frustration, Hannah tries to cheer her up by revealing that her boyfriend Amir is an environmentalist. He also loves plants, and has been trying to save the last greenhouse in the city. A cunning businessman, Boris Rick, wants to replace the greenhouse with a luxury hotel, but Amir will not let that happen. Maxie doesn't seem interested in the conversation, but her mother still wants Maxie to give this family a chance. It's not just about Amir. Hannah is also getting a better job in the city, and Maxie will become more social after having siblings. After a few hours of driving, Hannah and Maxie finally reach Amir's house, which is nothing like the houses in the countryside. Maxie greets her stepbrothers Tarek and Sammy, but they don't seem friendly at all. Tarek is angry because he has to share a room because of Maxie, while Sammy is only interested in pranking everyone. Maxie will be borrowing Sammy's room, but she starts hating it at the first glance. Amir promises to bring new furniture for her, but Maxie just wants to go back to the countryside. Later that night at the dinner, Amir thanks everyone for giving this family a chance. He celebrates this occasion with some pancakes, but as soon as Sammy eats one, his tooth falls off. It sends a signal to the fairyland, and Yolando gets chosen to bring Sammy's tooth. He excitedly heads towards the terminal, but Violetta notices him on the way. She decides to steal Yolando's gem and bring Sammy's tooth to prove that she is ready to become a tooth fairy. As soon as Yolando sees Violetta, he asks her to leave the terminal, but she starts running away. While trying to catch her, Yolando meets an accident and falls unconscious. Violetta uses this chance to steal the gem and heads towards the next checkpoint. After a while, Yolando wakes up and runs after Violetta, but she has already closed the terminal doors. She flies to the human world and automatically reaches Sammy's house. As Violetta can't use magic properly to sneak into the house, she uses the kitchen's window. Gwen keeps reminding her of the actual mission, but Victoria gets distracted by the sweets jar. While trying to get candy, she drops the whole jar, but luckily no one wakes up. After messing up the kitchen and getting covered in chocolate, Violetta finally heads to Sammy's room. She doesn't know that Sammy is staying at Tarek's room and mistakes Maxie as Sammy. Violetta looks for the tooth but gets crushed under Maxie's face. Violetta decides to stop looking for the tooth and proceed to the next step. She tries to create a gift but unintentionally fixes the withered flower at the window. Violetta starts to panic and decides to return home, but no matter how hard she presses the gem, nothing happens. she is stuck in the human world forever. The next morning, Maxie wakes up by the loud noise downstairs. It's Sammy complaining about his broken candy jar. As soon as Maxie arrives with her face stained with chocolate, Tarek puts all the blame on her. Hannah returns from her night shift and tells Maxie that it's okay if she accidentally broke the jar. Realizing that no one believes her, Maxie returns to her room in anger. Moreover, she can't understand how the chocolate got on her face. Suddenly, she hears some weird sounds from the dollhouse and rushes to check. As soon as Maxie sees the little fairy, she jumps in fear and starts calling for help. Violetta introduces herself and asks Maxie to calm down. Tooth fairies are not allowed to tell humans about their existence, but Violetta needs Maxie's help. After finding the tooth, the gem may work and take Violetta back home. Maxie explains that Sammy is the one who lost his tooth, and there's no way he will give it to anyone. Violetta starts begging for help and says that she's all alone in this world. Maxie feels sorry for the little fairy and decides to take the risk. She steals Sammy's tooth, but Tarek catches her on the way. Maxie tries to stay calm and pretends like she was only there to drop a flower. Luckily, Tarek doesn't suspect her and walks away. Maxie rushes back to her room and gives the tooth to Violetta. The little fairy gets really excited and starts imagining how much Professor Lauren will admire her for finding the lost tooth. Maxie wants to spend more time with the fairy, but Violetta needs to return as soon as possible. She hits the gem with the tooth and chants the disappearing spell, but it still doesn't work. Violetta gets really depressed, and Maxie can't see her like that. She checks the gem and finds a little crack on it. She is willing to help in fixing the gem, but in return, Violetta has to use magic to send Maxie back to the countryside. Violetta doesn't know such magic spells, but she lies to get Maxie's help. Gwen keeps warning Violetta, but the naughty fairy doesn't listen at all. Meanwhile, in the fairyland, Yolando has told everything to Professor Lauren, and together they start looking for a solution. Things get out of hand when Professor Lauren doesn't receive any signals from Violetta's gem. This means she will not be able to connect to Fairyland ever again. Moreover, if a tooth fairy doesn't return in time, she will transform into a flower. Professor Lauren starts looking for a spare gem, but it will take a few days to prepare it. There's only one solution left, but Yolando must help Professor Lauren in this task. Back in the human world, Maxie hides Violetta in her backpack and rushes to get some glue to fix the gem, but Hannah requests her to join the press conference. Amir has called the media to talk about the safety of his greenhouse, and it's a good chance for Maxie to know more about it. They all head to the greenhouse, which has lost its beauty after getting abandoned by the citizens, but the oldest tree is still there. It reminds Maxie of her best friend, so she rushes to hug the tree. After the interview, Hannah calls Maxie for a family picture, while Violetta keeps enjoying everything while sitting on the tree. Suddenly, she gets impatient and wishes to get a closer look at the humans. Gwen tries his best to stop Violetta, but the naughty fairy doesn't listen to anyone. After wandering around, she notices a kid with chocolate and tries to steal it. Violetta gets the chocolate piece but causes a huge mess. While trying to save Violetta, Maxie accidentally pushes Sammy and his pranking gas can explodes. Everyone starts coughing and leaves the conference. Seeing Amir's failure, Rick makes fun of him and asks him to give up already. Amir gets really depressed and scolds the kids, but Maxie doesn't like getting blamed again. She can't take it anymore and runs away. Meanwhile, Yolando goes to the fairy library with Professor Lauren, who pretends to return a book. When the librarian goes to put the book in its place, Professor Lauren and Yolando sneak into the secret terminal. Before the fairies discovered gems, they use this library portal to enter the human world. As soon as they step on the stone gate, it takes them to a wild land with trees and flowers Yolando never had seen before. The travel gems also used to grow here freely in the wild. After looking around for a while, Yolando finds the magic portal with the key, but it seems impossible to unlock it. Professor Lauren explains that the portal only works under the full moon and must be unlocked from the other side. Therefore, Yolando has to wait for his next mission so he can deliver the portal key to Violetta. They must hurry because the transformation has started already. While fixing the gem, Violetta notices that her foot has turned into a leaf. She panics and drops all the glue on the gem. It breaks into even smaller pieces and can't be fixed anymore. Maxie says that she would have called her mom if she ever gets lost, so Violetta should also call someone for help. They can make another fairy visit the house if someone loses another tooth. Maxie rushes to convince Sammy to play dentist with her, but he immediately refuses. Maxie starts begging him for a tooth, and in exchange she is ready to give him any of her toys. Sammy assumes that Violetta is talking doll and chooses her for the deal. but she starts biting his hand. As Sammy has seen the Tooth Fairy already, Maxie decides to tell him the whole truth. Sammy loves adventures and agrees to help Violetta. They try every possible method to break Sammy's loose tooth, but nothing works. Finally, it comes out when he burps. Violetta gets really happy and waits for the signal to reach Yolando so he can bring a spare gem for her. As soon as the signal reaches the fairyland, all the flowers near Yolando start blooming. As he touches one, it turns into a travel gem and takes him to the human world. Being the top student, Yolando remembers every lesson, and he explains the ways to return to the fairyland. Each fairy needs at least one tooth and one gem to return. As Violetta has broken the gem, she needs to find the magic portal in an old tree and use the ancient key to open it. Moreover, it must be done before the full moon disappears. Violetta didn't expect she had to do so much more to return home. It seems like she will never be able to make it. Maxie can't understand what's happening, but Violetta still hides the truth and goes to sleep. The next morning, she finds that both of her feet have turned into leaves. Maybe finding the old portal is not a bad idea. Violetta grabs the key and heads to the greenhouse along with Maxie. After searching the giant tree, they find the old portal and the key perfectly fits in it. Now they only have to wait for the full moon. Maxie notices Violetta's feet and requests her to tell the truth. Violetta finally reveals that she's going to turn into a flower if she doesn't return in time. Hearing this, Maxie gets really worried and promises to stay beside Violetta until she reaches home. Suddenly the door opens and Rick walks in with a gallon of poisonous liquid. He plans to destroy the greenhouse and use the land to build a hotel. While trying to see what Rick is doing, Violetta accidentally gets locked in the storage room. In panic, she hits the poison and spills it over the half-burnt cigarette. It catches fire and breaks the windows. Maxie was standing on the window, so she falls down and gets stuck in the fire. She begs Violetta to do something, but the fairy finally reveals the truth that she doesn't know any magic spells except for making flowers. Luckily, Rick hears the noise and saves Maxie's life. He drops her home and tells Amir that Maxie tried to burn down the greenhouse. Maxie doesn't say anything in her defense, which makes the situation even worse. The media is talking against Amir and his family, but Hannah can't understand why Maxie will do such a thing. She thinks it's all because of moving to a new place. Maybe this new family thing is not possible for them. Maxie hears everything and locks herself in the room. She finally gets a chance to ask Violetta why she lied about her magic. Maxie thought they were friends, but it seems like Violetta just used her to escape the human world. The poor fairy starts apologizing, but Maxie doesn't want to see her anymore and asks Violetta to go back to her world. Professor Lauren is anxiously waiting for her too because Violetta is not an ordinary fairy. She failed to become a tooth fairy because she is actually a reborn flower fairy that has the power to heal nature. Later that night, Hannah visits Maxie's room and asks her to tell her everything. Maxie wants it too and tells her mom about the tooth fairy, but Hannah assumes that she is lying to cover her mistakes. Meanwhile, Violetta is gradually turning into a flower and even loses her wings. She falls in the trash bin and loses her strength to move any further. Unaware of Violetta's condition, Maxie is preparing to help herself. She packs her things and writes a goodbye letter to her mom. Maxie is going back to the countryside. Before she can leave, Sammy arrives at her room with the portal key that Maxie dropped outside the house. Maxie immediately rushes to the greenhouse because Violetta can't return home without the key. However, Violetta hasn't reached there yet. Maxie sits down on a tree branch staring at the full moon and wishes for Violetta's timely arrival. After a while, Gwen reaches there carrying Violetta. She can barely breathe and uses the last bit of her strength to apologize to Maxie. She never intended to deceive her, as Maxie is the only friend she ever had. Maxie has forgiven her already and rushes to the magic portal. Before they can reach there, Rick breaks into the greenhouse with his excavator and also sprays poison all over the plants. He threatens Maxie and asks her to run away, but Maxie is ready to risk her life for Violetta. Meanwhile, Sammy has told everything to his parents and brought them to the greenhouse. Amir jumps on Rick while the rest of them stop the poisonous spray. Rick gets really angry and uses the excavator to cut down the tree branch. Maxie falls down along with it, but luckily she doesn't get injured. She puts the key in the portal, but it's not working because the branch is separated from the tree. Maxie suddenly remembers how Violetta healed her plant. She may be able to heal the tree as well. Violetta uses all of her magic to fix the tree and turns into a flower. Maxie grabs her and climbs on the tree to open the portal. Yolando and Professor Lauren enter the human world, but they get really sad after realizing that it's too late. Everyone starts crying for Violetta, but then something magical happens. Fairy dust carries Violetta in the air and turns her into an official flower fairy. She's the only one of her kind in the whole fairyland. Violetta gets really happy and heals the whole greenhouse. Now she must return home, but Violetta leaves the key behind so Maxie can meet her whenever she wants. Sometimes we are struggling and begging for a single flower while nature has prepared a whole bouquet for us. Let's be patient.